Because I usually do this alone.
I know, but I got the giggles. I can't do it.
All right, ready?
No.
Hey guys, so I am here with my mama today, and we are going to share some ghost stories with you guys. I have gotten so many requests from people to do another personal paranormal story, and the one that I really wanted to do was family paranormal stories. And then my mom, she planned a trip here, and I was like, ding ding ding, a light bulb went off, and I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to get you in front of the camera and tell your ghost stories yourself, because a majority of our creepy family ghost stories that we have, she went through. So and most of the reason that she had so many paranormal things happen to her is because she grew up in a haunted house. Obviously it was haunted, like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was a haunted house. So let's just get into it. Take it away, mama.
When I was growing up in Kentucky, I lived in a house that was from my family that they had built. My grandma and grandpa had built, and my uncle and my aunt and my other uncle had lived there growing up. And they had a lot of weird things happen when they lived there, especially my uncle. And so just weird things and that you couldn't explain. Most of these things happened to my uncle. He said one time he was at home by himself and he heard like noises coming from like outside. There was nobody around. This was like on the top of a hill, you know, with woods everywhere. And he turned around and the doorknob was turning. So it kind of freaked him out. He got up and looked outside and there was nobody there at all, anywhere around. So he said one time at night he heard like this laughing coming out like by the window. It was like, he described it as like a maniacal, like a cackling maniacal laugh. And I mean, nothing that like a human could do. That scared him to death. The weirdest thing he ever told me was they had a cat and it was blind and it would sit on the stairs like cats do. And one day he was there and the cat was at the very top of the steps, and the cat all of a sudden came flying down the stairs like something had kicked it. The cat flew down the stairs from the top to the bottom. Obviously a blind cat is not just going to jump down, you know, 12, 13 stairs. And he said the cat hit the bottom of the stairs on the floor, kind of shook itself off, you know, was disoriented, but you know, it was a blind cat. And it was like, he said there was no way that cat would have jumped. You know, it was like kind of freaked out, but just, you know, moving its head around. And then it just walked off. So that was like really freaky. When I was in my early teens, I started living in the house. And of course I knew all the weird things that he had told me that had happened to him, you know, years before. So this really first thing I ever remember happening was I was upstairs in my room doing my homework. And everyone else, the rest of my family was downstairs. And they were getting ready to eat dinner, and so my mom called me for dinner and I was up in my room. So I was thinking in my head, I was like, well, I think I might do some laundry. And then so I was like, well, I'll just wait and do it after I get done eating. So my laundry basket was kept like in the corner, caddy corner. And so I changed my mind, went downstairs to eat. Everyone was still downstairs. Came back up, nobody had went upstairs, and when I went upstairs in my room, my laundry basket was in the middle of the floor, turned upside down with the clothes on the floor. So I'm turning around, run down the stairs screaming, there's a ghost. I knew there was a ghost in the house. You know, everybody's looking at me freaking out. So, but you know, they didn't know what to think. So that happened. That was the first thing I can remember happening. And
then our cousin saw that black figure.
My cousin was over one time. He said he looked out the window, just happened to look out the window, and he saw like a black figure standing like down, kind of like in our flower bed from the window, and it just disappeared. That freaked him out. I'm getting cold chills.
I know, I like cold chills.
Oh, and one other time my cousin was over. We were in my room, and my TV turned on all by itself. But that was not the weirdest part. It was not even plugged in. So of course I was freaking out. My cousin was freaking out. You know, like, how in the world could this happen? You know, this is crazy. But the most thing that happened to me, the scariest thing ever in my life, it happened to me and my brother. Oh, I'm getting like chill sick because I think about it. One night, like when you go upstairs, his room was on the left, mine was on the right. And I had the same room that my uncle had when he lived there when he was young. And he always said that it just always gave him the creeps, that room, out of all in the house. It always gave him the creeps. They never, he said, looking out the window, the kids never played in that side of the house, like outside, no, in the, it just had woods around the whole house, but it was just weird. And I always had that same feeling too. We never even went out there either. It was just weird on that side of the house and then that room. Well, anyway, one night I went to go to sleep. My brother was using his room, and I was laying down and I felt creeped out all the time anyway in that house, but I was laying down, getting ready to go to sleep, and I just felt like something was in the room with me. That's about all I can describe it. Just like I get this really super creepy feeling.
Like something was looking at you.
Yeah, something was looking at me, watching me, whatever. So I just got up out of bed and I ran into my brother's room, and he's laying there half asleep, and I told him, I said, scoot over, scoot over. I didn't care, I was like, scoot over. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm scared. There's something in my room. So he obviously believed me because he knew things had gone on in this house. He was always freaked out too. He scooted over. We laid down in the bed. We're laying flat with my arms, our arms straight out in front of us with the covers over top of us because we didn't want no hands out, no, feet, nothing. We're laying like this. We're sitting there, just whispering, kind of talking for a couple minutes about, wonder what it is, wonder what's in this house, whatever, discussing, like that. And all of a sudden, it wasn't not even 2 minutes, our cover got ripped off. We flew up out of the bed, both of us trying to get through the door at the same exact time, like you see on the cartoons, boom, trying to get out the door, run down the stairs. We're about ready to trip, fall, screaming our heads off, wake up everybody else in the house, screaming, there's a ghost, something just ripped the covers off. Nobody knew even what to think. They were, this was like, late at night. It scared me to death, scared him, and we actually, we were kids, we taped butter knives together, like crosses, and that's how scared we were.
Yeah.
So that was about the last thing that happened there, but it was always just a creepy vibe. My mom did say she never really believed us that much. I don't think she didn't believe us. She just thought we were just, and then that happened and she was kind of like, well, yeah, that's very weird. But she said one time that we were all gone, all of us kids, and she said that she heard someone come in our kitchen, like unlock the door, walking around the kitchen, kind of banging around like somebody would do. And she thought it was one of us kids that had come home. And she walked out there, the door was still locked. No one was out there, and she's like, well, I know what I heard. So, finally then she was kind of like, well, something might be going on here. So that's about the last thing that happened. Then we moved out of that house not long after that. So yeah, the cover thing scared me to death.
I think because of that story and growing up and hearing that story, I always have a tendency to grab onto my covers when I sleep, and I sleep in a ball, and because I have a fear of things something ripping the covers off.
Yes.
Because of that story, I have a fear of that for my whole life.
Yes, that's the truth. I don't lie. That's the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, and my brother will swear to it till our dying day. That happened, and it was crazy, and it gives me chills thinking about it, and it's just weird.
The next story that she's going to tell you, we actually discussed, and we were deciding which one that she should tell next, and I think this one wins because it freaks me out. It's just the classic, it could be in a movie. It just freaks me out. So, okay, start it.
Okay. When I was a teenager, I've always, been into the paranormal, into ghosts. My uncle was so cool and got me into all this stuff, Well, when I was a teenager, a girlfriend of mine and a couple of guy friends I had, when I'm from a small town, all we did was drive around. There was nothing else to do. And go look for things and do things, it's kind of boring. But we decided we were going to go riding around. My friend, he had gotten a brand new car. So we wanted to ride around his new car. So we're, we've got a lot of back roads where I live in Kentucky. So that's what people usually do. So we decided to go riding around and we decided we were going to go to a place they called Hang Ladies Bridge.
Just that name.
Yeah.
Generally.
I don't really know a lot about the history. All I know is that supposedly years and years and years before that, some lady had killed herself, hung herself off this bridge, and ever since then, a lot of weird things happen.
It's supposed to be in Piner, Kentucky?
Yeah, I think it was around Piner.
Piner.
Yeah, as far as I can remember, around that area.
If you want to do any research, I think there's a few links on it, but there's not much on it.
No,
It's
not
like,
many people, like, you know, I mean, like I talked to had told me about it, you know, because this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what the story was. And then there was just like something paranormal going on.
So y'all were like, let's check it out.
Let's check it out. So we went. It was dark by the time we got there. So we go find this, you know, find the bridge. We go across it. Nothing happens. You know, we're still kind of freaked out. It's just spooky out there. You know, and in the backwoods, if you know anything about the backwoods of Kentucky, in the back roads, it's a little creepy. So we went across the bridge, and then we went down the road and turned around. And as we're coming back, his car stops on the bridge, stalled right on the bridge. And we're like, okay, what is going on here? And my friend, he was like he's the biggest prankster, but I knew that he wasn't doing anything. I mean, because it just stalled, and he's like, okay. We're all like, what is going on here? And then the car just like died. And then the locks started going. They just kept. They were not the up and down ones you pull, but they were the side slide ones, and they would just go and then just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so we're all at this point like freaking out, like seriously, you know, what is going on here? And even he was like, oh my God. He's like, I'm not, you know, what? He's sitting there like, what is going on here? Freaked us out. So we couldn't get the car to start. So we're stuck out, and I mean, this is, you know, pretty out in the middle of nowhere. Back before cell phones and all that. So we were like, what are we going to do? So we had to walk. All of us got out and walked way up the road, found this one house, talked to this lady, you know, asked her if we could use her phone. So we had to get his dad to come and get us, and the car never did start. He had to come pretty much, you know, come get us, tow us home back to my friend's house. It was just an eerie feeling there anyway. The next day, you know, I talked to my friend. He's like, my car's fine. It starts, no problem. Nothing's going on. I got it checked out. There's nothing wrong. It's a brand new car. So, I mean, it was weird. Yeah, I mean, it was very, very strange. But to see the locks going.
Yeah. You said he was like a, you know, just kind of like a skeptic or just one of those
he was. I mean, he was just like a big joker, and you know, and everything.
And he was like,
and he was always laughing and always, you know, making jokes and, you know, everything like that. But he was scared too. You know, he's like, what in the world is going on here? This is freaking me out. So
it was the idea of being a bunch of teenagers on Hang Ladies Bridge and having your car stuck.
Yeah, and the locks, and then the next day it's completely fine.
Now the last story she's gonna tell actually is like one of my favorite ones, I think, because it's just, it kind of like, it makes, obviously sad. It like made me cry the first time I heard it, but it's really interesting because it's not a normal one that you would hear, because it does have to do with an animal. So yeah.
Okay, the last one I'm going to tell is, it happened about 3 years ago. I had a dog named Matrix. He's since passed on now, but he was the sweetest dog in the world, the most gentle dog. Just everybody loved him. He was such a good dog. He had a little buddy. Her name was Jackie. She was like a little Jack Russell.
My girl. Yeah. I loved her so much.
Gabby. Well, she had come as a stray to our house, and between me and my neighbor, we just always fed all the stray dogs. She's the cutest little dog you've ever seen. Real sweet. Well, her and Matrix, you know, he's a great big dog. She's a little dog. They just loved each other. Well, something happened to her. We don't really know, because, you know, she liked to run around outside and stuff. She wasn't an inside dog. So, you know, something happened to her. I don't know if she got poisoned. I don't know if she got hit by a car and like bumped. I don't know. But she ended up dying a pretty bad death. We took her to the vet. They thought she was going to be okay, and she died. Anyway, we were just so distraught over this. It was horrible.
I mean, cried. Yeah,
just cry. It was horrible. So I knew Matrix would miss her too. He just loved that dog so much. So anyway, right after she died, we buried her on our property. Like, we have a pasture because I live on a farm. We buried her up on the hill. And right after she died, I never had this feeling about anything. I know other animals that had passed away. I never had this feeling. I just felt like she was there still, like her spirit. That's all I can describe it. Like her spirit
like her
was
presence
just,
was
her
still...
presence was still around. That's all I can say. We had talked about it, me and you, how we just felt like she was like not gone.
Another thing is that Jackie, this little dog, she came from a long distance when she came, and I mean, her paw pads were like completely destroyed. She had been walking for a long time.
And in the summer.
Yeah, and she just decided to pick this location and make it her home. So, I mean, the thought of her wanting to stay there a little longer and her spirit, you know, residing there a little bit longer, maybe to say goodbye, is not that, you know, weird to me.
Unheard of, yeah.
So.
Yeah, because we took care of her and so did my neighbor. We just loved her, all of us, every one of us. So anyway, she passed away, and like I said, you know, I just felt like she was still around. I even told my boyfriend, you know, I just feel like Jackie's just here still. That's all I can say, you know, just felt like she wasn't gone. So anyway, it had been a couple days, and she was passed away, and I decided to take Matrix for a walk. We used to do that sometime. He was sick, you know, with diabetes and stuff. And he was going blind. But you know, I still want to take him for a walk. So one day we're walking down the road. I get out, you know, a little bit farther away from my house. It wasn't no time, you know, I just started thinking about Jackie, because she would always run with us when I would take Matrix on the walks. She would run beside us, you know, and I'd take him on the walk, and I started thinking about her, and I started crying, and I kind of aloud to myself, I was just like, you know, poor little Jackie, because of the way she died. As soon as I said that, Matrix, walking just fine, he stops, he turns around, and he bends down, and I felt a swish on the bottom of my pants, on the very bottom, like something, I know, like something had, like a little dog had ran by, swished my pants. He turned around, he bent down to the ground, and his tail, when he would wag his tail, and when he would see another dog and be happy,
Helicopter.
He was like, my boyfriend would say, it would go like this, not, you know, back and forth, it would go in a circle, and I mean, he had a big long tail, and he was standing there, bent down with his tail going in a complete circle,
Sniffing
and wagging for about 5 seconds. He stood up, his tail stopped, he turned around and started walking. So I'm crying like that. I just can't believe that just happened. Freaked me out, but you know, made me sad at the same time, because I actually felt a swish, and Matrix had never done anything like that before, or never did that ever until he died. I mean, you know, when he would see another dog, that's what he would do with his tail, and he was bent down like she was small. So anyway, we keep on walking. I turn around and go back to the house. So I get back home, and I'm still thinking about that and crying, and I talked to my neighbor, and she calls me, and she wanted to know if my boyfriend and I had gotten another dog. And I'm like, no. And she said, well, I swear, John, her husband, she said, we were out in the yard, and they live kind of far back from us off the road, but she said, we were out in the yard doing some stuff, and we just happened to look over in your yard in the front. She said, we saw a little dog, looked just like Jackie. And she said, and I'm sitting there thinking, where'd that dog come from? She looks, you know, just like Jackie. She knew she had passed away. And she said, and John saw the dog too, and it was just laying in our front yard. She said, and I'm sitting there looking at it, he's looking at it, and then I just turn around to go back into the house. He turns around, and I just want to turn right back around just to see, you know, in 1 second if it was still there. She said she turned around, it was completely gone. Yeah. She said there's no way she would have seen it, because it's wide open space. There's no way it could have ran off this way, to the left, right, anywhere. It just disappeared. So that made me cry even more, of course. I was so upset. And I said, well, you know, because she had said, you know, you're going to think I'm crazy when I, you know, tell you this. Well, I said, no, I don't, because you're going to probably think I'm crazy. The same day. I said, you're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you what just happened with Matrix and me out on our walk. So, of course, she was like, oh, my gosh, you know, that's insane. You know, it was just crazy. So I do believe with my whole heart that she came back to say goodbye to me. I'm gonna cry. Say goodbye to me and Matrix, and just after that.
And you said that like you heard like one night little like running like in the
Oh,
grass.
yeah.
And you
and
saw
there
like
was
a
nothing.
light in the field.
Yeah, and there was nothing out there. I mean, so, and then even my neighbor too, she heard, because she had a very distinctive bark, Jackie did.
Yes.
And we're out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm talking nowhere. I live in the boonies in Kentucky, on a farm. So I even heard, I heard barking one night, because she would bark, if we couldn't get her inside, she'd just stay outside, because she was that kind of dog. And I heard it barking, and as soon as I heard it, I thought, that's Jackie's bark. And then I talked to my neighbor, and she said the same thing. She said, I swear I've heard barking, and it sounds just like her.
But right after the incident where she showed herself, she was just gone.
Yeah.
Like, it felt, like you said, it felt like she was gone. Like,
yeah,
after
I
that.
never felt, after that happened with my dog and the neighbor, I never felt her presence ever again. Never again. And it was like, I do believe she came back to say goodbye.
Okay guys, so that's it for today's video, and that was my mama stories. So we hope you enjoyed that, and if you liked it, definitely make sure to like and subscribe and any of that good stuff. And if you have any more requests for anything, put that down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.
Bye.